There's someone in your life who isn't just attracted to you. They're quietly unraveling because of you, and they don't even fully understand why. This isn't normal love, and it's not something you can explain with logic or timing. You've awakened something in them that was never meant to surface, something buried deep in their unconscious. And the unsettling part is, once that kind of feeling begins, it doesn't fade, it takes over. The real question is, what happens when they can no longer hide from it? Someone out there is deeply, almost irrationally drawn to you, and the reason behind it is far more unsettling than flattering, because it has very little to do with the person you believe yourself to be. Instead, it has everything to do with something within them that you unknowingly stirred awake. And once you truly grasp this, you can't unsee it. You've probably been taught that love grows from attraction, shared beliefs, or perfect timing. That idea feels safe, but safety often hides the truth. The reality is far more complex. The kind of love that feels overwhelming, consuming, even obsessive doesn't come from logic. It rises from the unconscious, from places people don't fully understand and often try to avoid. Without trying, you stepped into a hidden part of their inner world, a place they've kept buried for years. You didn't just make them feel appreciated or desired, you made them feel seen. And not in a comfortable way, but in a way that exposes something raw and deeply personal. That kind of recognition can shake someone to their core. Because when a person feels seen at that depth, it doesn't stay simple. It becomes intense. It becomes all-consuming. Most people mistake love for being liked or admired. But this is something else entirely. What you triggered wasn't just attraction, it was recognition. You awakened something within them that had been suppressed, something they were never ready to face. And somehow you became the reflection of that hidden part. Not because you tried to impress them, not because you said the perfect words, but because you existed in a way that didn't fit into their expectations. You were unfamiliar, unpredictable, and impossible for them to fully understand, and that disrupted the structure they had built to protect themselves. Their mind had carefully created walls to keep certain emotions and desires locked away. But when you entered their life, those walls started to crack. What they feel now isn't simple or clean. It's layered with longing, fear, confusion, and projection. It's dangerously close to obsession. You didn't just attract their attention, you unsettled something deep inside them. And when the unconscious is disturbed like that, it often feels like fate. But here's the part that's hard to accept. You didn't do anything obvious. You didn't follow a method or formula. What you did was break a pattern. And the human mind depends heavily on patterns. When something disrupts them in a meaningful way, it becomes unforgettable. You became that disruption, not chaotic or random, but meaningful in a way they couldn't explain. Almost symbolic, as if you represented something beyond yourself. That's when the projection began. They stopped seeing you as just a person. Instead, they began to see you as an answer to something they couldn't even put into words. They didn't just fall for you, they fell into you. And that's why walking away feels nearly impossible for them. Because letting go of you would mean confronting the part of themselves that you brought to the surface. And that's something most people avoid at all costs. So instead, they hold on, even when it confuses them, even when it hurts, even when it makes no logical sense. But there's something even more unsettling about this. You didn't just awaken something beautiful, you also awakened something unstable. Because when suppressed emotions come to the surface, they don't arrive calmly, they come with intensity, they distort perception, they blur the line between reality and illusion. And you can feel it. There's something different in the way they look at you. Something heavier in their presence. A tension that lingers even in silence. It feels like something deeper is happening beneath the surface. The truth is, they don't fully understand it either. This isn't happening in their conscious awareness. It's unfolding in a deeper part of the mind where logic doesn't exist, a place where contradictions live side by side, where love and fear become indistinguishable. That's why their behavior feels inconsistent. One moment they seem completely drawn to you, fully present and engaged. The next moment they pull away, creating distance. Not because their feelings disappeared, but because their defenses kicked in. Something inside them recognizes the intensity and whispers that it's too much, too exposing, too dangerous. So they retreat, and then they come back again. This creates a cycle, a push and pull that feels confusing but strangely powerful. Desire followed by fear, closeness followed by distance, intensity followed by uncertainty. And whether you realize it or not, you're part of that cycle too, because something about this connection affects you as well. It feels heavier than usual, more charged, almost like it's pulling something out of you too. So the real question is, what exactly triggered all of this? Because it wasn't random, it wasn't luck, and it wasn't just coincidence. There was a moment, one specific moment, when something inside them shifted, when they recognized something in you. And once that recognition happened, there was no going back. But that recognition wasn't about your surface personality. It wasn't about your looks, your words, or your actions. It was about what you represented in their inner world. You became a symbol of something they've been searching for, avoiding and needing all at once. And until you understand that, their intensity won't make sense. Their inability to let go won't make sense. The connection itself will feel impossible to define, because this was never just about falling in love. You activated something that had been buried for years. And once something like that wakes up, it doesn't simply disappear. It lingers. It grows. It demands attention. And eventually, it forces a confrontation. The real question is, when that moment arrives, will they face it? Or will they lose themselves trying to escape it? They may try to convince themselves it's nothing, just a phase, just a passing feeling, something that will fade with time. But time doesn't weaken something like this. It feeds it. Because what they're experiencing isn't built on surface attraction. It's rooted in something much deeper, something older, something that lives in the unconscious. And the unconscious doesn't forget. It waits. It watches. And when it's awakened, it refuses to be ignored. The unconscious mind has a strange way of holding on to things. It quietly gathers pieces of unresolved desires, unmet needs, and forgotten emotions, storing them deep beneath awareness. It stays silent for years, sometimes a lifetime, until something or someone brings it all back to the surface. And somehow, that someone became you. The truth is, you didn't enter their life in a normal way. You didn't just show up as another person. You became a trigger, a key, something symbolic that unlocked emotions they spent years trying not to feel. And once that door opens, it doesn't ask for permission. The unconscious doesn't move politely. It takes over in quiet, subtle ways, but its influence runs deep. Most people misunderstand what obsession actually looks like. They imagine it as obvious, constant attention, emotional outbursts, desperate behavior. But real obsession is much more hidden. It lives behind silence, behind control, behind restraint, because the deeper the feeling, the more the mind tries to suppress it. And the more it's suppressed, the stronger it becomes. So instead of expressing it openly, they turn inward. They start analyzing everything about you. Every word, every look, every moment gets replayed in their mind over and over again, like something unfinished that refuses to settle. Not because they choose to, but because they can't stop. You've become tied to something unresolved within them, something incomplete. And incomplete emotional patterns are some of the strongest forces driving human behavior. But here's what you might not realize yet. The intensity you feel from them isn't entirely about you. It's about what you represent. Because in the deeper layers of the mind, people don't fall in love with individuals the way they think they do. They fall in love with meaning. with symbols. And somehow, you became a symbol for them. You represent something they lost, or something they never had, or something they were made to believe they didn't deserve. And that realization creates a kind of inner conflict that's hard for them to handle. One part of them wants to move closer to you, to understand it, to experience it fully, but another part resists just as strongly. Not because they don't care, but because caring forces them to face something they've avoided their entire life. That internal struggle doesn't stay hidden. It starts to show in subtle ways, in hesitation, in mixed signals, in moments where they feel incredibly close to you, followed by sudden distance that makes no sense. And you can feel that, can't you? That emotional back and forth. That sense that something is pulling them toward you while something else is pushing them away. The truth is, they're not confused about you. They're overwhelmed by what's happening inside themselves. You've activated a part of them that doesn't operate on logic, a part driven by emotion, memory, and suppressed longing, a part that remembers things they thought they had moved past. And once that part wakes up, it begins asking questions they don't know how to answer. Why does this feel so familiar? Why does it scare me this much? Why do I feel like I need this, but also want to run from it? This is where the tension inside them starts to grow. Not in a dramatic way, but quietly, internally. Their conscious mind wants stability, something predictable and safe, but their unconscious is pushing for resolution. And real resolution often brings chaos before clarity. So they try to regain control. They create distance, not because they want to lose you, but because they're trying to manage what they feel. They tell themselves that space will calm things down, that time will make it easier, that stepping away will weaken the attachment, but it doesn't. Distance doesn't erase something rooted in the unconscious. It amplifies it. Because when you're no longer physically present, reality fades and imagination takes over. And imagination has no limits. Now you're no longer just a real person in their life. You become an idea, an image shaped by everything they feel but don't fully understand. And that image grows. It becomes more perfect, more meaningful, more essential. That's what makes it so hard for them to let go. Because they're no longer attached to who you actually are. They're attached to what you've become in their mind. And that version of you feels irreplaceable. But here's where it becomes even more intense. They don't trust it. They don't trust how strongly they feel. They don't trust how quickly it all happened. They don't trust how deeply it affects them. Because anything this powerful feels like it must come with a cost. And somewhere deep down, they sense that. So their mind creates resistance, doubt, fear, hesitation, not to destroy the feeling, but to protect them from what that feeling might require. Because if they fully accepted what they feel for you, they would have to face everything they've been avoiding, every hidden wound, every suppressed desire, every truth they buried. And the mind doesn't willingly walk into that kind of confrontation, so they stay stuck in between, pulled in both directions at once. They want you, but they resist you. They think about you, but avoid you. They feel everything, but say almost nothing. And that creates a tension that doesn't disappear. It builds over time, quietly, steadily, until it reaches a point where it can't be contained anymore. And here's the part that should make you pause. What happens when that tension finally breaks? The human mind cannot carry that level of contradiction forever. Eventually, something has to give. But when it does, it doesn't always unfold in a predictable way. Sometimes it leads to honesty, a sudden confession, where everything comes out at once. Sometimes it leads to complete withdrawal. They disappear, not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. And sometimes it leads to actions that don't make sense from the outside, choices that seem impulsive, emotional, even self-destructive. Because when the unconscious takes over, it doesn't follow logic. It follows what has been waiting the longest to be felt. When the unconscious takes control, logic loses its authority, and emotion takes over completely. And that's the point where everything begins to shift. The moment they can no longer convince themselves this is just a passing feeling. The moment they're forced to face what this truly is. And whether they feel ready or not, that moment is coming. Because what you awakened in them isn't temporary, it isn't shallow, it's not something they can just push aside and forget. It demands resolution, and resolution always comes with a price. The real question is, what are they willing to sacrifice to avoid facing what they feel for you? At some point, the mind stops trying to manage it. Suppression has its limits, and what they feel has already gone beyond that line. You can sense it in the quiet moments between interactions. That heavy, almost suffocating tension that doesn't disappear, it just lingers, waiting. Because inside them, things are no longer stable. Pressure is building, and in the human mind, pressure always looks for a way out. But release doesn't always come in a calm or clear way. Sometimes it comes as a breakdown, and that's where it becomes almost unbearable for them. Because now, it's no longer just attraction or curiosity. It becomes confrontation. They're being forced to face parts of themselves they've spent years avoiding. Old wounds, old rejections, old beliefs that told them they weren't enough, or that they were too much, or that love itself wasn't safe for them. Then you came into their life, and without even trying, you contradicted all of those beliefs. But the mind doesn't accept contradiction easily. It resists it, it twists it, it tries to protect itself from it. Because accepting you would mean rewriting everything they believe about who they are. And that kind of change isn't gentle. It feels intense, almost violent on the inside. So instead of integrating what they feel, they split around it. One part of them moves closer to you, craving the connection, craving the intensity, craving the feeling of finally being understood. But another part pulls back just as strongly, warning them in ways they can't fully explain, telling them this isn't safe, that this will expose them, that this will hurt. And this is where it gets even darker, because the closer they feel to you, the more exposed they feel within themselves. And to the unconscious mind, that kind of exposure doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels threatening on a deeper level. Not just emotional danger, but something that challenges their entire sense of identity. You're not just someone they like. You've become something that disrupts the identity they built to protect themselves. And identities built for survival don't dissolve easily. They defend themselves, sometimes aggressively, sometimes in ways that seem confusing or even destructive. So they start creating explanations to make sense of it, telling themselves it's temporary, that it's not real, that they're just overthinking, but they're not trying to understand what's happening. They're trying to contain it. Because truly understanding it would mean admitting something they're not ready to face, that this connection is real and deeper than anything they've experienced before. And that realization creates a tension that becomes almost unbearable. No matter how much they try to rationalize it, their body doesn't listen. Their deeper mind doesn't listen. The pull toward you doesn't weaken. It grows stronger, quietly but constantly, like something inside them insisting that this matters, that this cannot be ignored. And ignoring it starts to cost them, emotionally, mentally, even physically. Because feelings that aren't expressed don't disappear. They transform. They turn into restlessness, into anxiety, into that constant sense that something is missing, even when everything else seems fine. And somehow you become the center of that feeling, not because they chose it, but because their mind has connected you to something essential, something they can't replace. And this is when things begin to slip. At first it's subtle. Small cracks in their control, moments where they almost say something, almost reveal what's really going on inside them. Moments where you can feel how deep it runs, but then they pull back even harder, because now they're not just reacting to you, they're reacting to themselves, to how intense their feelings have become, to how little control they actually have over it. And this creates a cycle that becomes more unstable over time. The closer they get, the more fear rises. The more they distance themselves, the stronger the feelings grow. Eventually, this cycle starts to wear them down. From the outside, they may still seem calm, composed, in control, but internally, there's chaos. Because you've created a paradox they don't know how to resolve. They want you, but wanting you feels threatening. They feel connected, but connection requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is exactly what their defenses were built to avoid, so they stay stuck in between. Between desire and fear, between honesty and denial, between moving forward and running away. And what most people don't realize is that this isn't just emotional tension. It's something deeper. It's identity tension. Because moving toward you would mean becoming someone new, someone more open, more honest, more exposed. And that version of themselves feels unfamiliar, even unstable. But moving away doesn't solve it either, because they don't leave the feeling behind. They carry it with them. It follows them quietly, turning into regret, into longing, into that persistent question they can't escape. What if I just walked away from something real? And that question slowly begins to break them, because now there's no easy choice, only two difficult ones: face what they feel or spend their life trying to forget it. And forgetting isn't as simple as they hoped, because you're no longer just a memory. You've become part of their inner world, a symbol, a trigger, a reminder of something they can't fully explain. The more they try to suppress it, the more it shows up, in their thoughts, in their dreams, in quiet moments when everything else fades and you're still there. And eventually the pressure reaches its peak, because the human mind can't hold that much contradiction forever. At some point, it demands resolution, and when that moment comes, it's not always calm or controlled. Sometimes it's a breaking point, a moment where everything they've been holding back comes out all at once, raw, unfiltered, impossible to contain. And right before that happens, there's a kind of silence, not peaceful, but tense, heavy, like something inside them has stopped pretending. And in that silence, the truth finally rises. They can't run anymore. They've tried distance, they've tried distractions, they've tried convincing themselves it isn't real. But reality doesn't disappear just because it's uncomfortable. What they feel for you has become undeniable. And then comes the realization that changes everything. This was never about controlling their emotions. It was about facing what those emotions reveal. Because what you've done is expose a part of them that has been starving. Starving for connection, for meaning, for something genuine. And now, they can't hide behind logic anymore. They can't reduce it to simple attraction. They can't avoid the question that keeps coming back. Why you? Why does this feel so familiar, like something they've been waiting for without even knowing it? The answer isn't simple. It's tied to something unfinished in their past, something they buried so deeply they almost forgot it existed. But the unconscious never forgets. It waits for something to reflect it back. And somehow, you became that reflection. But the hardest truth for them to face is this: you didn't just reflect who they are, you reflected who they could have been. And that realization cuts deeper than anything else, because now loving you isn't just about loving you, it's about grieving a version of themselves they never allowed to exist, a version that was open, fearless, willing to embrace something real instead of running from it. That's what makes this so overwhelming. Because every moment they avoid you feels like they're betraying that version of themselves. And every moment they move closer feels like stepping into something unknown, something they can't fully control. And eventually, they realize there is no safe option, no middle ground. There's no way to feel something this deeply without being changed by it. So now they face a choice that doesn't really feel like a choice at all. If they walk away, they lose you. But more than that, they lose the version of themselves they briefly saw through you. And that loss doesn't fade. It stays, turning into regret that lingers over time. But if they move toward you, they lose control. They lose the identity they built to protect themselves. They lose the illusion that they can avoid vulnerability. And for the human mind, losing control can feel like losing everything. This is the breaking point, the moment when all defenses collapse, when all the excuses fall away, when the truth stands on its own. They're not just in love with you, they're being changed by you, and transformation is never gentle. It breaks things before it rebuilds them. It strips away illusions before revealing something real. It forces confrontation before allowing connection. That's why this feels so intense, so overwhelming, so impossible to ignore. Because it was never meant to be simple. It was meant to change them. And in the end, this is the truth they can't escape. They didn't choose to feel this way, but they will choose what they do with it. And that choice will shape who they become, not just now, but in every moment that follows. Because people don't remember the feelings they avoided. They remember the ones that transformed them. And you're not just another feeling in their life. You are a turning point.